today's topic is genetic testing. Should you do it? Genetic testing is the hot topic these days, and many researchers, many practitioners are saying, "Oh yeah, you should do genetic testing because if you have a gene mutation, then you need to do something about it, right?" But here, I'm going to give you the cliff notes. I'm going to give you the answer, the solution right now. Should you do it? In my opinion, no, it's not necessary. That's the answer. Now, I'm going to spend the rest of this podcast explaining why my answer is no, you should not do genetic testing. Again, I'm not a physician. You can take my advice with a grain of salt. But if you're looking for longevity, if you're looking for improving your quality of life, like a wellness expert, then I'm the person. But if you're looking for medical treatments, you're looking for medical information, I'm not your person. I don't prescribe medication. Medical doctors, they prescribe medication, right? They do testing, surgery, medications. They're not focused on longevity. They're not trained, not even focused. They're not even trained on how to help restore your organ function. But that's a whole other story. Let's get back to genetic testing. Should you do it? Many people say yes, because and the most popular one is methylation. You will find out you will have all these mutations where you're not methylating, right? And so what is the solution? I'm gonna tell you what's the solution, right? So regardless of where your genetic testing comes up, your body doesn't methylate. Here's the solution. Here's what everybody's gonna tell you, right? You're gonna take supplements that are methylated B12, right? You need to take supplements that are methylated for you, right? That's the solution. So you're gonna spend, genetic testing is expensive, $500, sometimes $1,000, depending on if you do it with these name brands or people that are promoting it. You're gonna get $1,000 and to find out, oh, you just need to take methylated supplements, right? To me, personally, I don't feel so good about that. Knowing that if the solution is always going to be just take methylated supplements, why spend the $1,000 on genetic testing? And here's the other thing. Everybody agrees upon this, all right? This is not my opinion. Genetic testing, if you have a gene mutation, you can't change it, okay? You can't reverse DNA. You can't, if your DNA is your DNA, right? And so at least not yet, until technology changes it, like in the movies, right? But we're not there yet. So you can't change genetics. And here's a third reason why I don't recommend doing genetic testing. It's because who's keeping that genetic information? Even though they say, oh, it's HIPAA compliant, it's safeguarded. How many companies have you seen in the news where data is breached? Hackers get in. It's happening so often, probably once a month. So don't tell me information is all secure, because it ain't. Some hacker can hack it, right? And so therefore, your genetic information is out in the public. Or not in the public, it's out, someone can hack it, right? And some pharmaceutical company, or even the government, some foreign government, or even our government, someone with ill intention can take our genetic code and create a virus and spread it throughout the whole world. And then they would be able to, it's like, this is the movies, guys, right? And so that's the reason why I'm not going to get into that conspiracy theory. So those are the reasons, right? But I also want to talk about, so genetic testing, I would not recommend you do it. Can you affect your genes? Absolutely. And new research or the practitioners recently, I would say that the popular thing to do now is how can we activate your gene expression? How can we get some of your genes that are not expressing themselves? They're called dormant. How can we activate them, right? And many of these practitioners, they're going to use something called peptides, inject peptides into you, use stem cells. They're going to use supplements. These are the solutions. I'm telling you all the solutions. It's either peptides, stem cells, exosomes, and supplements. Those are all the solutions that the current popular practitioners, functional medicine practitioners, physicians, chiropractors, naturopaths. That's the solution. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just letting you know these are the solutions. So you can make your decision on whether you want to go ahead with that. I'm reading this book. It's called Brain Food. It's by Lisa Mosconi, right? Lisa Mosconi. She's a neuroscientist, works for the NYU Medical School and other Alzheimer's programs and stuff like that. She was actually part of the first Alzheimer's prevention. Every scientist research that's doing right now is how to prescribe a medication for Alzheimer's after you've gotten it. So she was on the first I would say group team that was working on how can we prevent it from even happening, right? And so loving this book so far, and I want to share some of the information about what she says and then my comments about it. So again, this is no right or wrong. The question is, do you want solutions after you've got the problem, or do you want solutions to prevent you from ever getting the problem? That's what you need to ask yourself. If you're focused on, okay, I only want a solution after I've gotten the problem, this podcast really ain't for you, right? There's many other podcasts. Actually, 99.9% of the podcasts are focused on that. How can we, after you got a problem, then what's the solution? Because what is the solution? What are those solutions? The solution is always a pill, right? Or an injection. And that pill could be medication. That pill could be a supplement, right? I'm a licensed acupuncturist, an herbalist, Chinese medicine practitioner, and my specialty is in neurology. So I'm keen about learning about the brain and how we can prevent these, degenerative disorders from happening. And Alzheimer's, Meniere's disease, that's one of the worst things. As she says in this book, people are not afraid of getting diabetes and even cancer. People are not so concerned about getting cancer. They're not concerned about having a stroke. They're not so concerned. What people are most concerned about, Alzheimer's disease, right? So memory loss, dementia is the word I'm looking for. People are more scared of getting dementia, losing their mind, than anything else. They don't care about physically. They can lose everything. They can lose their arms and legs, and people don't care about it. But when it comes to losing their brain, they're like, man, I'm losing my mind. That's the number one thing people are scared of, right? And so that's why, I'm diving deeper into my research and in regards to what are the things that we can do to prevent. And reading through this book, it's shocking, but also not shocking. The solution has always been around. We keep doing research to try to figure out some type of magic bullet, magic pill, silver bullet that can stop dementia, prevent dementia, reverse dementia, and Alzheimer's, right? Again, all of those research done is focused on medication. And she says in this book, there is no medication that can reverse Alzheimer's, dementia, zero. All those medications can do is try to slow it down. Not all of them are effective in slowing down. It tried to slow it down. And she says, even all the current research being done presently, none of them are promising for dementia, Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is the worst form of dementia. If that's the case, then what's the solution? If the current research and the current treatments, all medications, don't do anything, they barely even slow it down. And the current research, they're all not promising. So when people start, what do you do, when you have dementia, Alzheimer's, where you have genetics, right? Let's go back to genetics. She's, based on what she's saying, is that most people think Alzheimer's is due to genetics. And according to her research, right, that is far from the truth. I forgot what percentage, but less than 1%. Less than 1% of Alzheimer's, people who get Alzheimer's, is because of genetics. Less than 1%. That's what research is all focused on. It turns out the role of genetics in Alzheimer's and dementia in general is not as major as as we previously thought. While some patients carry aggressive genetic mutations that cause dementia, for the vast majority of the population, risk is influenced by a variety of medical and lifestyle factors, including a person's diet. So, very small percentage is genetics, but all research is focused on genetics. They're focused on this small percentage. What about the 99% of people who get Alzheimer's and dementia? Nobody's doing research on that, on how, I mean, she is, right? Very few, I'm not saying nobody, very few are doing research on how to really prevent Alzheimer's, dementia from you losing your mind, right? And so that's why I love this book. She, as a Western medicine, she comes from the Western medicine side, but yet she sees the weakness of Western medicine in regards to Alzheimer's, and she sees the strengths. Of course, she sees the strengths because that's what she's studied, but she sees the weakness. So she's more open-minded. Okay, she's more open-minded to see what is the truth instead of what do I want the drug companies. Is the drug companies funding my research? So I need to prove that a drug can do it, right? So this is what I love about physicians and scientists that are open, right? Alzheimer's, to summarize, Alzheimer's is not due, people who get Alzheimer's is not due to genetics. I mean, here's the real answer. It's due to your lifestyle. How you live your life. How you live your life determines if you will get Alzheimer's or not. Or if you're going to lose your mind later or not. And here's another interesting fact. She says, several teams across the world have been successful in mapping the development of Alzheimer's over time, showing how it occurs gradually in the brain and progresses over a 20 to 40 year period. So it doesn't happen overnight. It's happening over 20 and 40 years, right? Before clinical symptoms emerge. So when you start exhibiting, or your family members start exhibiting Alzheimer's, memory loss, frustration and all that stuff, right? It's been happening 40 years ago. It started actually 40 years ago, right? So what does that mean? In other words, cognitive impairment. So you're losing your brain, you lose your mind. Cognitive impairment is not a mere consequence of old age, but rather represents the end game of years of accumulated insults to the brain. So what happens? So what is the true cause of Alzheimer's? 40 years of you damaging your brain. That is the cause of Alzheimer's. Now, what damage is she talking about? Damage is something that I've been preaching about just for optimal wellness. Damage through what you eat. Food is super important. If you're eating junk, right? It's just like, when you go to the gas station and you put in, you go to a gas station, they water down, and they don't refine that gasoline, that crude oil. And you get this junk gasoline that's got all this junk in it. Is that going to allow your car to run better or worse? And it will allow your car to run 1 year or 20 years, right? Versus you get that premium gasoline, more expensive one, that's more refined, right? That's more refined. That's what your engine craves. That's like the superfood for your engine. Well, then your car, all mechanics will tell you, the quality of your gasoline is going to determine the longevity of your car. That is the same with our bodies. The quality of the food, the gasoline, the food you put into your body will determine if you're going to go crazy, you're going to lose your mind in 4 years or not. People don't want to hear this. Why? Because, especially here in the US. Here in the US, the food is terrible. Terrible. I went to Asia two months ago, and the food is phenomenal. It's so nutritious. Here in the US, because the food industry, right? They're manipulating, genetically modifying our food. Is no longer food. We're no longer eating food. So what we're putting, no wonder, I'm going to have to do a research on this. The number of Alzheimer's cases in the US compared to every other country. I'm going to assume it's going to be higher because of the food we put. The US government allows food companies to produce genetic modified food, synthetic food, not real food. They allow then people to sell that, put it into our ingredients, right? But that's what's killing us. So what if you're already over 40? Hey, you're already over 40. You still got 40, 50 more years, right? You still can reverse it, right? So coming back, it is food. Food is crucial. Food is not the only thing, okay? Food is not the only thing. Don't get me wrong. Food is not the only thing, but food is crucial because food is what fuels our cells. It allows our brains to function better. Our brain consumes most of the fuel we need. We eat food, it becomes energy. Our brain uses the most energy, right? So if you're putting junk fuel into your body, then your brain's getting junk fuel. So food is super important. I'm going to go over that in all these podcasts, but I just wanted to let you know this was so enlightening for me, right? And here's what she and her scientists, her team came up with. As it turns out, Alzheimer's is not a disease of the old, nor does it hit without warning. It hits you with warning. We just ignore the signs. So remember, it takes 40 years for you to develop Alzheimer's. In those 40 years, you ignored all the, like in your car, when something's not going right, you'll have these engine lights pop up, right? And for our car, when we see an engine light flash or some type of light flash in our dash cam, our dashboard, we go, okay, something's wrong. We better take it into the auto shop to get it checked, right? But how come we don't do the same for our body? We treat our cars better than we treat our own body. Like our body has those checked engine lights that are going off, flashing, but we do nothing about it, right? This is, big pharmaceutical companies, yes, they're not here to help us, right? But they're not the problem. We are the problem because first of all, we seek them as a solution. Second, we don't pay attention to the warning signs that our body tells us, right? And remember, she said, before you get the symptoms of Alzheimer's, before you start losing your mind, the body has already given us warning signs, but we just ignored it, right? What are some warning signs? If you get brain fog, you can't think clearly, you chop it up as, I didn't sleep well. I must have ate something. Well, you were right. You didn't sleep well. So if you wake up groggy every morning, you are already damaging your brain. You're damaging your brain because your brain's telling you, man, whatever you did to me yesterday or the past week or the past month, man, it's killing your brain's telling you this, but you ignore it. So it's the summer now. People are going vacation. People sacrifice their sleep on vacation because they don't want to miss the experience of their vacation. But what they don't realize is sacrificing your sleep, that's one of the number one contributors to damage to your brain. Your brain needs sleep. Your brain has to do self-cleaning. That self-cleaning, right, happens only when you sleep. So if you don't sleep well, your brain's not cleaning and you're damaging your brain, right? So there's so much to talk about this. I will continue this podcast. Make sure you tune in to this channel. If you haven't subscribed, Anything is Achievable podcast. Make sure you subscribe, and I will continue this topic. This is so interesting, and this is something that we're going to be doing in our practice, in our clinic. We're going to be helping our patients get smarter, right? Help them heal their brain and restore their brain function. All right, guys, sorry to end this with you right now, but you got to tune in for the next podcast.